There's a truth-telling style we all have, or, you know, as Michael says, whether or not consciously you know it, your subconscious is clued into what's right or wrong or what's truthful. That's the way Michael works. It's always, how can we make it that bit better or squeeze some more truth out of it? How much further into this can we go?
And action.
This is our actor's home IP address, his home server. He's not in Mumbai, not in Minneapolis, not in Riga. He is in Jakarta.
Can you crack the site?
No. HRM is a hosting company, like a hotel or a Swiss bank, exclusively for Blackhat hackers, so it's bulletproof.
Part of the excitement of making films for me is that you get to take yourself in a world you're really fascinated with, and you get to explore it in depth, rapidly. I always feel I have to know something about an area before I can figure out who the players are. To me, it'd be a cheat to have a preconceived story and then put it within a milieu instead of authentically being inside the milieu and finding out what kind of people these are, how they think, how they walk, how they talk, how they dress, who are they.
I know you, and you're about money, because it's your scoreboard in the virtual world.
When you do that immersive kind of research, characters show up.
You know, I signed on to the film and I was in Australia at the time, and he said, I need you to be in Chicago at, you know, 2nd of May or something. And I said, oh, you know, I'm in Australia. He said, oh, well, you have to come back early because we have to go to the steel mill and see where you grew up. And this is 2.5 months before we started shooting.
I thought that Hathaway should be the son of a steelworker, living on the south side of Chicago, working in the mills in Gary, Indiana. You know, went to work at 5 in the morning in a blast furnace.
You said this is where your father worked. This is the kind of people you know, would have grown up with, and you might have worked here part-time at some stage.
Hathaway went to MIT on scholarship and loans. While in school, he got into a jam that turned into an assault and a prosecution. He probably emulated his father, who he had a very close relationship with, and refused to cut a deal. I took Chris to Statesville prison. That was a fascinating experience for him to try and get some sense of what his life would have been inside for 4 years.
Hathaway, cell search.
You know, the first time I walked in, you immediately kind of go, wow, this is a whole nother world here. Its own set of rules and an incredibly intimidating and scary place. I've never had that kind of extensive background given to me like that. You then have to sort of sift through it and, you know, wrap your head around it. It was hugely helpful.
You think you're playing someone who's a peripheral character, and that might be the case. Nonetheless, you get an email with this complete backstory that's been fully researched and written out by Michael.
Qassar is a product of the interminable civil wars in Lebanon, acquiring skills in urban combat, which became a professional kind of a commodity that he could market.
The guy we're working will drop the big hammer and not think twice about it. And then,
Come on. Don't evoke 9/11 on me.
You didn't lose anyone there, Stanley.
Slow it down.
Right?
Slow it down.
The figuring out who I was an absolute journey. It was a difficult one. Probably one of the most difficult journeys I've taken with a director.
Gun.
One of the most impressive women I know is a lady named Michelle Leonard, who's the head of the DEA. She's an extraordinary woman.
Michael had me fly to Washington, D.C. to meet the head of the DEA. It was 2 women sitting down in an office talking, but her air of intelligence and authority was just in her.
You're requesting I turn over records to the FBI and a foreign power on thousands of private brokers and traders. I'm afraid I can't possibly accommodate.
And also a passionate, singular feeling of wanting to do good. In the next 15 seconds, I call Laura Greer at the Commodities Trading Commission, and I say, Laura, how you doing? I'd like to launch an official investigation on one Gary Baker. So the headline, MTech official investigated for aiding and abetting cyber criminals, leaks to CNN in the next 90, so it makes the 3 o'clock news cycle as well as the nightly news, and that'd be good too. Only after I took the part, then the stories came out. The number of takes, and the beauty of doing all of those takes is you have 10, 15 different choices at the end of the day. Depending on how the movie is cut and what choice he makes, it could fit into the movie in a totally different way than you could possibly have imagined if you just said it the way you felt like it should be said. Am I being tangible? After a while, I liked it. Gary? I did. It woke me up out of my haze, which is just doing something by rote.
The Chinese network engineer, Chen Lian, is played by Tang Wei. There's a lot of similarities between the character Lian and Tang Wei in life. She's candid, she's very independent, a woman who speaks her mind.
Tell me, what is it I'm supposed to start seeing so fast?
Where you are?
What, Koreatown? What?
You'll be in the rapid stream of decision-making, having to make intuitive choices. People against you are high-speed, world-class, dangerous.
She's either on a set observing, or she's in her hotel room by herself for 2 days, 2 nights, thinking. You know, she really just moves into that role and becomes that person and just wants to live there. And it's not out of discipline, it's sheer pleasure for her. If you were going to program an actress, you would come up with Tang Wei.
I like to do it again, because I always waiting for him to give me tip.
Maybe I'm not sure.
Yeah, even though it says
Tip about feeling, about the characters.
his reaction.
Yes.
It won't come.
Yes.
Because that kind of thing need to melt into yourself, melt into your blood, and then it become the reaction, the acting.
You never know what's gonna happen or how many takes we're gonna do. And when you start to do a lot of takes, you think, okay, what am I doing wrong? And then you kind of get to a place where you don't know where the scene's going. There's a freedom to it. You just sort of let go because you have to.
This was found in your cell.
Looking back at the interrogation scene, it was that experience where I was just swimming.
Is this the attack tool?
And watching it back, I think everything I've ever watched back in the past of something I've done, I've known where it was heading. In this, I was watching it going, I don't remember this take. I don't know where this is headed.
I used it to call Santa in the North Pole and told him to do Christmas early this year.
You exhaust trying to hit a mark, because we see you trying to hit a mark then. You stop playing the end of the scene or a certain point of the scene. It becomes a lot more honest, and you start then noticing all the changes and movements of the other character and the set. So it was a huge learning curve for me.
Chris, he responds to challenge. He's physical in his life, both as a surfer and a kickboxer. Ready, set, and action. There was something adventurous, the freedom that he feels to navigate his own course, forging his own path through the world. And I felt that I'm sitting with this guy, and I'm sitting with Hathaway. You got a zoom on there or not? Put a longer lens on and let it be bumpy, but then it'll get smooth when they stop. Okay?
Michael Mann is a master of creating reality on film. It's so believable.
Just move slowly and see all of it. And move, pan right. Grillo, don't slide around. Just get me the whole tableau of this stuff.
Just us being there on set, I believed it. The ambulances, the burn victims, the hundreds of extras, all the medics dressed in those hazmat suits. Every single process was exactly how it would be if something like this happened.
Julie Atwood is a nuclear waste management consultant. And in setting up the response at the nuclear reactor, she was absolutely key.
Try to peel the suit back.
In terms of the procedures for putting on protective garments, the training of the nurses and technicians, it was all very authentic.
This set's all about showing some of the reality. A lot of workers get hurt, a lot of them get sick, they get radiation illness. You'd have injuries like you would get on a construction site, along with radiation burns.
How would the burns look? We saw all these pictures of real burn victims. Those were recreated by the makeup artists.
Michael Mann wanted 2 nuclear blast victims, dead victims inside. So the actors actually see what they're going into.
It was a scary thing.
Michael will be standing in the middle of the set, and you can see it. You can see in front of his eyes there are these vast tableaus and the minutest of details. What follows thereafter is this muscular effort, and it is a muscular effort to recreate that, to impose that on the world around him.
He demands a lot, but he's giving twice what anyone else is given, you know. He's literally sprinting across the set. You see him sprinting across the set and back again, and you know.
I dispatched 2 SWAT team guys. I have to grab one of him, holding him like that, with my arm around his neck. And we had to go through many takes because there was an exact placement of that hand that Michael wanted. No, Richie, the fingers are too splayed. No, Richie, the fingers are too bent. And I asked him, where do you want the thumb? Do you want the thumb like this, or do you want the thumb out? He's like, why are you asking me about the thumb? The thumb's unimportant. There's exact placement that for Michael denoted skill and years of experience.
Michael really wanted to emphasize that we were the underdogs. And there we are, having a screwdriver and a grinder and sanding the thing down to make it into a weapon. He's wrapping magazines around his stomach to protect himself. And a lot of it was stuff that's pulled from, I think, prison. This is where Michael's taken it from. How guys prepare if there's going to be some kind of fight.
It's all about if I can get close enough, fast enough.
Now we're here, but up until that final bit, yeah, I gotta be a little more proactive. It's certainly the most prep and work I've done, but hugely beneficial. I'm circling, going, who's around me, trying to... As soon as I'm flat-footed, I'm a still target. It made me think about how I have prepped in the past and will in the future.
All of that, yeah.
We see him, and then
There was a perfect moment.
Before you know it, it affects you in some way, and you start to move differently. And you get on set then, it's that extra bit of confidence that I know who this guy is. I'm not trying to fake it. It becomes a part of you, or you become a part of it, and it's great.
And cut.